A light touch before comedian Steve Coogan cuts to the chase.
They use words like effluent, don't they? Effluent, raw sewage, discharge. But United Utilities, in none of their press releases do they use the word poo. Quite interesting.
United Utilities supply more than 3 million homes across the northwest. It's also responsible for treating sewage. Too much of it is ending up in Lake Windermere, according to those taking part in today's demonstration.
You saw how many people were out here today, and all these campaigns are as a result of concerned individuals getting the ball rolling. We're Johnny-come-latelys. Well, Coogan is especially, and Mack. At least I've got a track record.
It's Matt Staniek, a local zoologist, who got the ball rolling about Windermere.
This pipe here, when it's discharging, is going into our most culturally significant body of water in the country.
Not just culturally significant, it's England's largest lake at more than 10 miles long. Last summer, the north half turned bright green. Look carefully and you can see a child swimming in it. It was caused by a blue-green algae.
We've got, both historically and in the present day, an excess of nutrient going into Windermere. The main nutrient at the minute is phosphorus. It acts as a fertiliser for the blue-green algae, and it then proliferates and blooms. The single largest input of phosphorus into this system is United Utilities, the water company.
The blue-green algae can be toxic for anything living in the lake or using it.
This is one of 4 designated bathing spots at Windermere. Officially, the water is rated here as excellent. But read the small print. Here it says that there's a history of blue-green algae blooms, which it says are toxic, and it advises, if you see any of it, not to enter the water.
I've seen the algae, and normally when I go swimming, it's with a bunch of biologists. And to be honest, I just take their advice. If they go, no, this algae is bad algae, then we don't go.
It's obviously a major concern. We spend a lot of time here canoeing and kayaking and stuff like that, swimming. And you want to be somewhere that's clean and that you know is going to be safe for your children.
United Utilities has already announced it's fast-tracking £19 million to help reduce sewage spills into Windermere. In a statement, it added, "In the last 5 years, we have halved the amount of phosphorus that is now entering the lake from our processes. We know there is more to be done, though, and in the next 2 years, we're making an early start on reducing storm overflow operations." But that's unlikely to calm the waters for campaigners. They're furious that United Utilities has just announced a £300 million payout for shareholders, money they think would be better spent cleaning up Windermere.
Well, earlier I spoke to the comedian Mack, who's been with those campaigners on the shore of Windermere today, and I began by asking him what motivated him to join the protest.
I was at school, and the first place I went to on a school holiday was the Lake District. I've loved it all my life. I think it's a beautiful place, and it feels a bit of a no-brainer to me that if people are putting sewage in a lake, it's not good. I mean, I have to be honest, before Paul Whitehouse and Steve Coogan contacted me and said, will you put your name to it as well? I didn't even know, I don't think, that people would put sewage in a lake. I just didn't think that was something that people did, but it's a big thing with all the water companies, and particularly United Utilities up here in the Lake District.
Water companies, point out themselves, you can't just switch things off overnight. It requires investment and changes to systems and all of that kind of stuff. So what does the campaign want?
Well, you can't change things overnight, of course you can't, but I'll tell you what you can do. You can start changing things many years ago when they didn't. United Utilities have just announced £300 million to shareholders, and they're going to put 19 million into getting this corrected, and 19 million isn't even close to what they need. So I think what the campaign is saying is, first of all, why didn't they put the 300 million into getting it right rather than paying out shareholders? You can't be making a profit at the moment. There's too much poo literally in that lake.
They've got a very slick website which puts their side of the story, which says they're spending millions of pounds to clean this up, but also that it's not just their fault, that it's also down to farmers and people with septic tanks, so that you can't blame just them.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to say that, aren't they? They're not going to say it's our fault, but nobody else's. And of course, there's other things going in the lake. But if you're releasing thousands, and there are thousands of hours of sewage into the lake, That has got to be the main contributor of it.
Paul Whitehouse and Steve Coogan are both sort of experienced campaigners in a way, particularly Steve Coogan, got involved in all sorts of issues. How comfortable are you sort of wading into what's quite a political thing, especially given, you know, what we've just seen with Gary Lineker recently and all of that, you know?
Listen, not comfortable. I would rather not do stuff like this. That's the real truth. Politicians have to get involved here, not comedians. Politicians have to say, if you elect me, this is what I will do to try and clean up Lake Windermere and all your other local MPs in your area where there's too much sewage going into Lake. It's not their lake, it's your lake.
And is this party political for you, or is it, you know, pressure any politician?
Absolutely not party political at all. Any politician that is not supporting this campaign needs to support it, especially if you're an MP in an area with a lake like that. That is absolutely beautiful.
You're one of Holly Willoughby's former co-presenters. Are we going to see you on This Morning before too long?
I can absolutely rule myself out of the race for presenting This Morning. Absolutely, 100%. That's probably the most controversial thing I've ever said.
Lee Mack, thank you very much.
But if the money's right, I'll do Dancing on Ice.
OK, you and me both.